Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. Well, first over here we'll take a look how we can make a payment from our app, and then we'll walk you through step by step that the payment works, and we'll do everything for the setup itself. Okay, so now here I have this item, and here I'll click checkout button. All right, now it showed me up with a PayPal button, and once I click on the button, it will take me to a new page where we'll see the payment is happening, and it would also ask me to log in using my credentials. We are using Flutter Web View and Sandbox, so it might take a bit of time to load. So here we are, and it's loading, and over here we'll type in our password. Definitely this is a web view inside a Flutter app, so I will type in my password. Okay, and we can click and see the password anyway. So now I'll click on this. So now it's going to get back from the CNC, and over here we are back to home. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's all. And in the app itself, we can also see the order, the one we just did, and it got confirmed. Okay, this is the order we did, and we can confirm it in our backend as well. So I'll come to our backend, and over here I'll refresh it, and here I do see that I have this 12/10012 user ID 27, and we paid 24, and it's paid confirm. Okay, and which is the one we see over here, 10012. Okay, well, anyway, so let's go ahead and do it. Well, previously we have seen how to create a PayPal developer account, and how to create client ID and secret ID, and use them in our app. But of course, we have just gone over the setup in the PayPal itself, not really in the code. Okay, so right now what we'll do, we'll go ahead and see how to integrate PayPal SDK for your application, for your Flutter app. And in this case, I'm going to use Flutter as a front-end code and Laravel framework as back-end code. And at the same time, we'd be using Flutter Web View to do the payment. So that's why our PayPal would be integrated in the backend, which means that every information about PayPal would be in the backend, and Flutter app will access them using Web View. Okay, so that's what we'll do. Now, first you need to install PayPal in your backend. Well, because we are in Laravel application, which is a PHP framework, so we'll click over here, and it will take you to a new page, which is this one. And this page will tell you how to go ahead and install PayPal SDK using Composer. So to be able to do that, you need to come to your Laravel applications root folder. If you don't have one Laravel application, go ahead and create one. If you don't know, check out the video in the description. And then once you create it, or you have the Laravel application, go to the project folder, which is the root folder, and then go ahead and run this command. Okay, which I've already done it. But anyway, if you go ahead and do it, you will see that this is your project, and here is a vendor folder, and inside this you have this PayPal SDK installed. Okay, so with this we'll have our PayPal SDK ready. Okay, that should be inside your vendor folder. We can go ahead and check it. So if you install it, it should be in your root folder inside the vendor folder. So now I am in the root folder of my project, Laravel project, which is app, bootstrap, config, database, public. We know that. And here also, we also have this vendor folder. And inside vendor folder, we'll see that we have our PayPal SDK ready. Now, of course, once we have installed it, we don't need to change it anything over here, but we need to use some of the services the SDK provides, and that's why we have installed them, right? Okay, anyway, so once the installation is done, next we have to go ahead and edit and put some information in our Env file. And to be able to do that, you need to go ahead and come to your Sandbox mode over here. So this process, what I'll do, I'll come over here and walk you through one more time so that you know what's happening over here. So it may take a bit of time to get loaded. Okay, so now first thing we'll do, we'll go ahead and create a Sandbox account. And this would be a business type account, and I'm in China, so I'll select China. Okay, and it created a business account for me, which is this one, and the last ID, the digit is 1017. Business account C2 means for China. Okay, now this is our business account. Okay, all right, now at the same time you also need to create one personal account, but we'll do that a little later. So as we have the business account already, now using this one we can create an app identity or entity inside our PayPal account. Okay, so we'll come over here and we'll see that we have an option to create an app. Okay, I've created some dummy apps before. I'll create one more and I'll choose Sandbox over here. So let's go ahead and click on this. Now you have to give it a name. So I'll call it test e-commerce. Okay, and this is the account we created at the end, 1017, which we have seen earlier. Now click on create app. Now here actually creating app means it will give you client ID and a secret ID. Okay, so all we did first, we created a new Sandbox account. We did this one for testing, and once that has been done, you create an app using that account from Sandbox. Anyway, so now here you see that this is our business account. It has a client ID and a secret ID. Now in our backend we need to go ahead and use them. Okay, now here we go. For this one I'll come back to my Laravel app, which is over here. Now here I'll open my Env file. Now over here you see I put client ID and secret, this one. Now in general in Laravel default application we don't see this one. So for you need to go ahead and write this to key, and for each key we should put the value. Now for client one, for client ID, you'll copy the value from here. So which I will do, I'll copy it and I'll put it over here. Okay, and then I'll copy the secret ID and I'll put it over here. Okay, so now with this, PayPal would be able to verify that this is a valid app which has been connected with the account of PayPal. Okay, so that's why you need to put this two information in Env file, but of course that's not enough yet. Okay, and over here you also need to mention the PayPal mode is a Sandbox mode. If you are doing live, then you need to do live. Okay, well, okay, so after this we need to go ahead and create a file. So that should be inside our config folder. So inside config folder we need to create a paypal.php file. Now here we create an array and we return it, because later on we'll use this file as a configuration file from other files. Anyway, so just go ahead and copy this section. So here you have client ID, secret ID, and different kind of settings. Okay, now this you see client ID and secret, which is correspond to this one. So env file has this information, and this file is able to read because here we have this env as a constructor. Okay, so that's how this file would be able to read this two information. Okay, all right, and everything else should stay the same. You shouldn't change them, at least for now. Okay, all right, so once you have done this one, next step we'll come over here inside our app folder, and inside HTTP folder, inside controllers, we'll create two files, two controllers. One is payment controller and PayPal controller. Okay, now for these two files, this code actually I already put over here. I already have some of the basic information that you might need. So over here, first take a look at payment controller. Now we'll go over here and take a look at a payment controller. Now payment controller, this is the method that gets first time let's get called first time from Flutter app, and I'll show you soon how it gets called. Okay, now all of this code is pretty much here actually, so you can just go ahead and copy. Okay, all right, but of course based on your requirement you may need to change this order and customer ID, because these are coming from my database. Okay, but whatever you do, this section should be the same. Just all you need to do, you need to check this certain user exists or not before you make the payment. Okay, but the one you guys are following along with me using Flutter e-commerce app, you can just go ahead and copy this section and you should be good to go, as well as this part of the code. Now this code is over here. Okay, anyway, so next we will also have code for our, let's see, PayPal payment controller, which I've mentioned over here. So all this code is here, and this is the actual code that does the payment. Okay, so once again, if you're coming from other Laravel application, you need to change some places, like this kind of places, this one, based on your requirement. But this might be scary for you, but this pretty much all this code is coming from PayPal official side. Okay, now actually here we'll click this one and it will take you to a page. Let's see. Okay, sample source codes, let's see. Okay, so over here now, for example, if you click on this one, authorize payment, okay, so it will get you the sample code. Actually this is the place from where I have copied all this code, and yes, I did make some change based on my requirement, but 98% of the code is same. So if you're using other PHP or other framework, you can still use that, but just tiny changes. Okay, some basic personal information regarding your app. Anyway, so go ahead and copy all this code and put it in PayPal payment controller. Okay, and you should be good to go. All right, and at the same time we should have another file, because we are going to access this information from Flutter app using web view. So we should also have a route inside our web.php file. So these are the routes that you should have, and this routes actually direct to these two controllers, all the related function. Okay, pretty much this one gets called first, and which eventually calls a method in our payment controller, which is this one. Okay, so I also wrote this code over here. Let's see. Okay, so you can just go ahead and copy all of it and copy the information from those two files. Okay, now this would be the endpoint for our backend where Flutter app access the SDK. So this is the endpoint for our SDK from Flutter app. Okay, and once they can access this one, Flutter will be able to access the information here and here. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's one thing. And as you see, first time when you, okay, well, when you make a request, so this is the route that gets called, and eventually it calls this method, which is payment, and payment method at the end returns a view if it gets successful. If it fails, then it returns 403. Assume that it is successful. In that case, we need to have a view. Okay, now view in our views folder, resources views, which is this one, and over here actually there is a button you will see where it says payment. Okay, all right, so there should be a payment button. Now for this, all this code actually over here I already mentioned, so you can just go ahead and use them. Let me take a look where it is. Yeah, payment view, which is this one. So copy that, but do remember that here I do have some CSS file and JS file, but those are just for styling, so you might not need them. Okay, so you can skip that. You can just have a simple button. Okay. All right. Now, so this is a web payment view file, and in fact, actually, if you click on this one, it would look like this. Say I come over here and I add certain stuff in our cart, and then if you click on checkout, so well, it's loading. Let's see. Yes, so this is the button that you see, and which is the result of this page. Okay, now the code is once again there. So this is the payment view code. Okay. All right, so let me show you the next information that how it works. Over here, the basic code has been shared. Now, actually, we need to go ahead and see our Flutter Frontend code. Now, for Flutter Frontend code, actually, we are here. This is the payment page, and here we are using web view. Now, if you're using other Flutter app, you just want to use this one, go ahead and copy this. All you need to do, change this one. Okay, it doesn't really matter, and you should have your own order model or things like that. Now, as you see here, I do have a URL, so let me enlarge it. Okay, so this is the URL. Now, this base URL has a value, which is actually this one. Okay, so if you come over here, I'm sorry, so this is your whole URL actually. Now, on the website itself, I have listed the URL, so you can see actually what it looks like. So this is the one that it should have a user ID and order ID, which means customer ID is the user ID and order ID. So that's what we send over here. So for you, if you are just want to follow this part of this tutorial, you can create any kind of user ID and order ID, but of course they should be coming from backend. Okay, once you do that, so here is our web view. Okay, now web view is a Flutter plugin. If you don't know what plugin, you can just come over here and check with me. Okay, this one. Anyway, so well, come to this page actually, because we are coming to this page. Let's see, once again, let me restart our app. So I'll add some items, so I'll click on them. So once you click on this one, this page gets called, okay, on the checkout button. So which shows you this paypal.php paypal actually, and once again, this is coming from our web view, which we have seen earlier. Okay, so this is the web view that's being shown on our Flutter app. Okay, so once you call this one, the button, it would make a request to the server. So as you see, so this is the endpoint, payment mobile, so which is payment mobile. So slash, the first one is this one gets called over here, and then it calls the payment view. Now after that, payment view in return calls PayPal, okay, because there is a form over here. So this button is a form actually. So once you click on this one, this function, sorry, this endpoint gets called. Now this endpoint is this one. Okay, now this one eventually calls a method from PayPal payment controller, pay with PayPal, which is inside this one. Okay, so which is the first method, this one. Okay, so this one gets called and it does a lot of calculation and setup, and if it returns and if it gets successful, actually it returns from here. Okay, so once again, this code is coming from PayPal SDK, so not much change. One thing though, you have to know that here actually our secret ID and client ID get called. because we are calling paypal.php, this one over here, using this get, I would say, method. Okay, and then we save the information here, and based on this we get client ID and secret, and then we create an API context which PayPal needs. Okay, so it gets alive as long as you work there. So yes, anyway, you need to have this API context which we need for our app. Once again, this code is everything is there, so you can just go ahead and copy that. So now once this is done, it gets redirected actually from here with the original URL. Okay, now let's click on this and see what happens. So well, one thing though, this code is also available, so you can just go ahead and copy the code from here. Actually come to the bottom, this one. Okay, so all this code is available, and if you're following along with me previous Flutter e-commerce, so you don't need to actually change anything, just go ahead and use them. Anyway, so now we'll take a look. So we'll click on this, and it's loading. So here we are, and it's done loading. And after, so here we are done with this login. I mean, it showed up the whole page, and now it wants me to type in my username and password. Now this should be coming from personal account. Well, earlier we created business account and this one, but this time we'll go ahead and create a personal account because you want to be able to pay. So you can choose your country, and the account type is personal, and over here it will show you your information. So you can click on this account it created, and I'll click over here view, and it will take me or show me the new information, the information I have. So this is the email account, and this is the password that I could go ahead and use it. Well, actually I have already created a few, and this is the one I was using before, so I'll still use this one. And if you want to take a look, what is this? This is same as the one we just saw. So this is the information that I already have saved over here. I don't want to type in the long name. Anyway, so now I would go ahead and type in the password. So it's Q8XLW9. Let me make sure that I typed it correctly. Yes, so I'll click on this one, and here we'll see that a lot of things are happening. It's loading a lot of other pages. Now these pages are coming from PayPal itself, so I'll click continue, and it's going to make the payment, and if it does, then it will show me a pay successful page. Okay, so it may take a bit of time. Okay, so payment successful. Now over here we did a payment, and payment ID was this one 1011, and there was this ID, and status is successful, and user ID is 27. Now we can go ahead in our backend and verify that the payment worked. So here we do FD. Well, that's my testing app. So here I would do admin. So it will take me to a new page. Okay. Now over here, if I click on this on orders, I do see that, I'm sorry, here this is the user ID 27, and account payment ID was 1019, and paid this amount of money, and it's confirmed, and it just happened now. Anyway, so pretty much all this code is in this file. You can go ahead and use them, and if you guys are following along with me my tutorial, which was this one we are building together, then you shouldn't have any problem. You can go ahead and just use it. Thank you so much.